awkward.
Kyle Lowry, I can do that.
Kyle Lowry?
Lowry?
Oh my God, she thought she could do it. She couldn't even do it. Let's just stop. Let's keep
Yeah,
the
we can.
camera.
It's too dangerous.
Let everyone else can be astounded at Ruby's.
We'll have Ruby go versus Sherm when we ever see a Sherm.
Wow.
Damon Stoudemire.
Damon Stoudemire.
Wasn't he the short one?
Yes.
Yes.
There you go.
Oh, I don't know who that person is.
I told you he was 5'10", right?
Yeah. Mighty
Was he?
Mouse.
I feel like Kyle Lowry was the shortest.
Mighty Mouse.
He was the shortest person.
Kyle Lowry's 6 feet, 6'1" or something.
Lowry.
Really?
Yeah.
He looks
How do I
so
say?
short. We're not telling you how to say any of them. That was an accident.
Pascal
Siakam. Okay, thank you. And Sergei Ibaka.
Here's a fun trick that my African friends taught me. If you ever see an African last name, you can just pronounce it as it is, and that is the way to say it. Like, there's no usually
I was doing
words
that.
or anything like that.
That was my attempt at pronouncing it as it is.
Okay, Ruby, try harder.
Oh goodness.
Welcome to the Technically Diverse Podcast, featuring the Quadcast crew.
Welcome to episode number 8 of the Technically Diverse Podcast. We are located at the intersection of technology and cultural diversity. I am your host, Jordan, and joining me as always are the members of the Quadcast crew. My co-host and our resident adrenaline junkie, I'm Sako, aka Ruby.
Hey everyone.
Behind the scenes working his magic is Uncle Mike. Remember, if it ain't Mike, it ain't right.
Feeling good, feeling fine. How's everybody doing there?
And keeping us in line and doling out the law and order is our producer, Roz, aka Peaches.
Hey.
We're joined by Paul Jones. Okay, he's a Canadian sports and media legend. He's a studio analyst and sideline reporter. He's the Toronto Raptors play-by-play announcer. You've heard him on the Fan 590. You've heard him on TSN 1050. And he's also the co-host of a widely popular sports show, Smith and Jones. Paul, thank you so much for being here. Jonesy, I'm going to call you Jonesy because I always wanted to call you Jonesy, and I can do it now. There's free reign. I'm so happy. Thank you for being on our podcast. We really, really wanted to have you on. You can see me. I'm smiling ear to ear. You're so busy all the time, Paul, with all these jobs and all these gigs that I just mentioned. And in October, you just got appointed to the board of directors for Basketball Canada. Tell us about that, how that's going, and how do you find the time to be everywhere?
You make the time. Jordan, it's my late father used to say, if you want something done, ask a busy person because they will find the time to do it. So I'm trying to be busy. Sometimes time is more valuable than money. So I make the time. And you can thank Big Mike for this, Uncle Mike for this. If nothing else, we go way back. The appointment to the board with Canada Basketball was really kind of cool for me because all I ever wanted to do was, play for the country. And back in our day, it was, people might argue it was a bit of a closed shop. It was tough to work your way in. There weren't that many minorities, black kids involved. And I'm kind of laughing now because Canada is wildly successful. And we got Tristan Thompson from Brampton, Corey Joseph from Pickering, like even going back, we had like back in the day, we had Sherman Hamilton from Malton and Michael Meeks from so it's good. It's good that it's become more representative. And the board was the same way. They felt that they needed to become more representative. I am a self-admitted basketball lifer. The game is, the game will never be out of my system. I often thought I'm going to be this old man at home sitting watching games on the couch, and thanks to COVID, I am doing that still. But I'm also working in the field, so it was nice to be appointed to the board, and it was nice to be able to, be a voice at the table and consider things that maybe they didn't always consider, and have somebody, kind of, as I said, be representative of a group that was present, was popular, but wasn't always present at the table.
And our podcast is all about diversity, inclusion topics, and technology. And you hit it on the head there, right? Like you're playing the sport, you're part of the on-court action, but then there's no representation in the stands and in the front office. So it's awesome to see that kind of take place now, and it's awesome to see that even happening in the NBA now, where there's a prominent focus on making sure that there's black execs. And Raptors as an example, we have a strong leader on the Raptors with Masai Ujiri there. So as a fan, it's great to see, right?
It is, Jordan. And I will say this about diversity, equity, inclusivity. It's like running the marathon. A marathon is 42 kilometers, or for those of us that are old school, 26 miles, 385 yards. And right now, the NBA is, in terms of sports leagues, they're ahead of the NFL, they're ahead of the NHL. They're ahead of Major League Baseball. If it's a race for 26 miles, the NBA is at the 10-mile mark. And, like hockey's just tying up its shoes, and baseball and football are, at the 1-mile mark. To me, they're way behind the NBA. But the NBA still has a long way to go too. You've run 10 miles. There's still another 16 to go. And I am the only black play-by-play voice on the radio, and I'm not even full time because of a move by a program director years ago. I am play by play for half the games and the analyst for the other half the games. And at one point, I was full play by play, and I was the only black play by play guy in the NBA. So the NBA is diverse; it's progressive. They have a focus on equity and inclusivity, but there's, as you said, Jordan, there's still a long way to go. There's still lots more to do.
Wow. It's still kind of insane when I hear that sort of stuff, that, you're the only black guy, like in the, that's crazy. Oh man. Can you kind of shine some light? I know you've been in the industry for a while, about how things have kind of looked historically, being a broadcaster, like especially in the Canadian landscape.
It kind of is what it is, Jordan. We haven't had a lot of representation. And I remember, it's nice to see Jermaine Franklin doing SportsCenter, but you can count here the number of male minorities that have done SportsCenter, or maybe here, between my brother and David Amber, and, I know Gurdeep, Nabil Kareem, Jermaine Franklin now, I think Thomas Forster might have done some back in the day. There aren't very many, and that's kind of the way the industry is. And again, to me, it always speaks to the hiring practices. People are going to reach out, hire people with whom they're comfortable, and it's not maybe done purposely, but it's the way it is. People are more comfortable with people they know, or people that look like them, or people have the same thought processes. So that's how they reach out. And I'm glad there's a focus to kind of change the landscape right now and make sure that isn't the case. It takes opportunity, it takes opportunity. And I'll say this, my dad was a Brooklyn Dodger fan, a Jackie Robinson fan. And he used to say, yeah, Jackie broke the color line, but somewhere there was a white person behind him going, okay, you can do this, giving him the opportunity. And that's it, Jordan. I think that's what we're kind of crying out for. Like, just give opportunities, give chances, give equal chances. Pick me because I know what I'm doing and I happen to be black. Don't give me the job because I'm black. And then when I don't do a good job, it's held up against me like, oh, this person failed. So, and then I would say on the other side, well, you got to be prepared. You got to know your stuff. You have to, you have to be invested. As I always say to the kids when I was a principal, your head, your heart, your hands. You have to know it. You have to get your hands on it and do it. And it has to be in your heart. You have to love it, because if you don't, you're not going to be long for whatever it is.
Wow. Words to live by. Ruby, why don't you chime in here?
So I love hearing that there's change, and then there's people want to work with who they know and bring in who they know. For me, kind of taking it back to NHL, Punjabi night, and Harnair Singh broadcasting in Punjabi, and my family just being super excited that there was representation, even though it was in Punjabi, but now having him being able to now broadcast in English, it's just really cool to see that diversity and seeing somebody representing us and seeing that diversity and that openness, because it takes that one individual, because then now that one individual is going to kind of get more people on board and get more people paving the path. So I think that's very important to see that, recognize that, and support that, and have people say, hey, I can do that too.
Right. It's hey, there's somebody that looks like me, right?
Yeah.
And that's the way you look at it. And for years we didn't have that, at least not in Canada. We're starting to get some of that now. I mean, I've got a daughter who grew up. Unfortunately, she had no choice. She grew up a sports fan. She all three of my kids, they've learned life and life's lessons through sports about, discipline, responsibility, effort, teamwork, no guarantees, no matter how hard you work. Like that's life, and they've learned all that. And our business is tough, but she wants in. She wants to get into the media business in some way or other. And I'm trying to help her, but the old adage, you can lead a horse to water, right? Like I can do everything to help her. And I'm sure once she gets in, she'll be fine. But she's doing it because she sees Malika Andrews and Kayla Gray, and she sees people that look like her. And it's like, Dad, I think I can do this. I'm like, of course you can do this. Now in our day, we wanted to do it, my brother and I, but we didn't see anybody that looked like us. But luckily we had parents and aunts and uncles who would say, Jamaica, yeah, man, go there. Like, you can do that. You can do it. Don't let anybody tell you can't. So, you kind of forge the path, and you look back, and if there's people like you that want, you reach back for them, you send the elevator back, and you try to bring them in too.
So, Jonesy, I'm happy you brought up the past and your brother. Can you kind of talk a little bit more about how you got started and take us along that path a little bit? Because, you've just kind of always been there. Like ever since I turned on the TV in '95, like you're just there. Like it just, I associate you with Raptors basketball. Like there's no other way.
It's bizarre, Jordan. It really is. I'm going to tell you the genesis of the story is, again, we talk about the things that you learn in sports. And one of the things you learn is initiative. When I was a principal in York Region, we had 10 character words around education, one for every month. Honesty, respect, responsibility, integrity, initiative, courage, empathy, fairness, optimism, perseverance. And my brother took two of those. He was interviewed as the player of the game when TSN was just starting out. And he said to the late Peter Watts, who just passed away recently, I'm a student. It's February. School ends in 5 weeks, the beginning of April. I'm looking for a summer job. Right now, I'm cutting grass at York University. That's my summer job. I drive a tractor and I push a lawnmower and whatever. He goes, I'm a sports guy. Do you have any jobs there at TSN? And Peter Watts said, you know what? This was a Friday out in Vancouver. He said, call me Monday. And like I was talking to you people off air, we're Jamaican. Don't say call me, because I'm going to call you. Right?
Yeah, I'm following up.
Don't say call me and then be surprised when I call you, because I'm going to call you. So Mark called him and he said, yeah, come on in. And Mark got a job in April of 1985 working at TSN. And I was over playing basketball in France. And I called him, and I mean, we were sports nuts, and here's an all sports channel. Mm-hmm. And he says, I got a job. I said, oh, good. You got a summer job. You back cutting the grass? He said, no. I'm working at TSN. I'm like, wait a minute. The phone line's bad here. Like, we're not cell phones or anything, right? The phone line is crackling like somebody frying bammy. I'm like, did you say you're working at TSN? He goes, yeah. I said, man, you don't know nothing about TV. He goes, I know, but I know sports. Uh-huh. I said, what do you do? He said, I write the highlights. I watch the game. I write the highlights, and I give it to Jim Van Horn and John Wells and Michael Landsberg, and they read it. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, man, when you come back, you got to come and get a job. They need people to do this job. So I came back in April of 85 and I was supply teaching, looking for a full-time teaching job because I wanted to get into coaching. And who do you coach? You coach kids. Where do you find kids? You find them at a school. Mm-hmm. So I was using my teaching degree and I wanted to get into coaching. And I started working part-time at TSN. And I'm like, son of a gun. You mean you're going to pay me $50 every night to watch 3 hockey games, basketball games, baseball games, like whatever? So even when I got a full-time teaching job, I said, okay, guys, I'm done. And they said to me, the guys at TSN said, well, we really like what you're doing here. You're kind of part of the family now. I said, yeah, but I got, I'm coaching after school and I have lessons and marking. And they said, and what time does that stop? I go, I usually stop about, 8 o'clock or so. And they said, and then what do? You sit down and watch the game, right? I'm like, oh yeah, I watch the game. They said, well, why don't you keep coming in here and watching the games and we'll pay you and you can write the highlights. You're not going to bed till the game's over anyway. You might as well be here.
Yeah.
and that's how it started, Jordan. And I got in and just, as we were taught, you work hard, you get to know people, do what's asked, be a good employee. And I started to learn TV. I learned what the producer did, what the director did, what the PA did, how the audio guy worked. I mean, when Mark got his job at TSN reporting, I would carry the bag and I would hold the big board reflector when he was doing an interview with George Bell or Jesse Barfield to make sure the light was on him properly. But I was learning the business. And I think I had an advantage because I learned everybody's job. I didn't necessarily do them all. I wasn't qualified, but I knew how important the audio guy was to get the microphone up, or the cameraman to get the right shot, or the producer, overseeing the whole thing, the director's pictures. I learned all of that, and I understood it. And I understood how the team worked. And in '92, I got a break working at the Olympics for CTV because the NBA sent their first team. And the guy who was running TSN had left to run CTV, Scott Moore. And he said, I need a basketball guy. The NBA is going to be at the Olympics. So I covered the Dream Team.
You got to cover the Dream Team?
Oh, yeah.
Were you around the practice?
That's amazing.
The thing that hurts me the most is that the final game against Croatia, they let me go to the arena to write the highlights and to cover the game. And I was kind of had my camera there, and I was like, I had a good camera. I got it for a graduation gift for my master's in sports psychology from my parents. And I'm taking pictures and whatever, and, Spike Lee, and I'm taking all these pictures. People are like, Barkley's right in front of me. I didn't know him then, but, and when we were coming back, my film rolled through the X-ray machine and got exposed.
No,
so I have some pictures, but the pictures from the gold medal game, they got exposed. But 2 years later, fast forward, 94, the world basketball championships are supposed to be in Yugoslavia. Civil war is ravaging that country. So they moved them to Toronto.
Yeah.
And,
Skydome, right?
Yeah, at Skydome and Maple Leaf Gardens, as fate would have it, somebody got sick, and my good friend and colleague Leo Routens, who was supposed to do radio, moved to TV, and I got a call to ask if I would do the radio. Now, I'd never done it before. I'd been around it, but I'd never actually been behind the mic and on camera. By that time, I was producing and helping to produce and write Blue Jays shows and Expos shows and continuing to write highlights and going on field shoots and stuff like that. So I said, yeah, why not? I took it. And it went well. And my broadcast partner then, Mike Inglis, was my first broadcast partner with the Raptors. And I talked to him just a few days ago because the Raptors played the Heat. He's now the play-by-play voice in Miami. I'm envious that he gets to go to work in a golf shirt every day.
What a gig.
Yeah. So, and that's it. And Jordan, it's just kind of gone hand in hand. I kept up with the school stuff because I felt education was important, especially in our community.
Oh, yeah.
Some difficult places, but trying to, at times give some tough love and prepare, kids that look like me. And I could see them. They were me when I was that age, and they needed help in a myriad of ways. And so it wasn't until 2006 that I finally let education go and dove full time into the broadcasting.
Wow, that's still a long time to be a teacher, and a principal at that, an educator. And
I was in 22 years. Yeah, 23 years. Yeah.
It's, you've lived like almost a double life. Like I thought Mike had an interesting double life, but I mean, you just take the cake right now.
It's crazy. It was crazy. But sorry, Mike, go ahead. You were going to.
No, because I was just want to say, you talked about kids that look like you, right? Or, helping those kids that look like you. So I remember when we were young and we would go to your house. You probably don't even remember because it was just Wayne's friend that would come to his house. And we were there. And I believe Leo was there at the time as well. And I remember your house, you had this kind of roller. And it had all these trophies on it. Right? I remember you had all those trophies on it. And then what I always remember from you, and this was before I met you, you were kind of like a prince to us. Because remember back in the day where the dunk contest didn't come to Canada. It wasn't
right.
Here. And so you had a satellite dish, right? And back then that was big things, right?
Yeah, somebody has a satellite dish that's huge.
So Paul used to get us a tape. Right. And then Wayne would call, right? Not text or anything. He would call or run down the street to our house. And then we used to watch this VHS tape that Paul recorded for us. And it had all the dunk contest and it had the game and everything. And that's what we used to watch. Like with one tape, you can't even dub it. We always used to have to go to Wayne's house. Or somebody used to come to our house and we used to watch this tape. And that was the gold for the year. I don't know how many times we wear out that tape, but then when after a while, when I finally got to meet Paul and go to his house, and then we went to an alumni game you guys were playing. I think Leo he went to St. Michael's, right?
It was he went to St. Mike's. Yeah. We had the alumni tournament at St. Mike's at one point.
Yes. Yeah. And so we all went down there, and then that's when I first got to meet you, got to talk to you. I knew about your parents. I knew from them, from Wayne's house and stuff, but looking at you, I was like, wow, he's doing a lot of things for myself just in the background. And that was even before you were on TV. I knew the stuff you were doing, I know all the awards you got in school because, your younger cousin would talk about you. Right. And so that's a thing of admiration, right?
Mike, it's all about the work though you put in, and like I'm going to be talking to some schools, kids at schools in February over Black History Month, and it's important to celebrate Black achievement, and especially when it's really, tangible Black success. Yeah. But with the achievement and the success, what you don't see behind the curtain is the hard work. Yeah. Right. And when my kids were in the 8th grade, on the first day, I would give everybody a dictionary. Everybody uses Google now, but there's a dictionary. And I would say, look up success. I said, okay, put your finger in there. I said, look up work. And I said, read the definitions. I said, okay, this is the only place where you're going to see success before work. The dictionary. That's it. That's it. If you want something and be successful, you're going to have to work for it. So, Mike, all those things that I was doing behind the scenes, and like some of that, I mean, it's my cousin Wayne and his boys and whatever. Can we see the dunk off? Yeah, man, I'll dub it for you. I'll get a tape for you, whatever. But all those things and studying and watching and those things were preparing me for later that I didn't even know of. You know, so and people have to understand this. It is about the work you put in. Like you have to work. And again, as I said, in sports, you can work as hard as you can, as much as you want, but there's no guarantee. Now, I got lucky. I somebody happened to be in the right place at the right time, the right people seeing me. I got lucky because there's lots of guys like me. But if I didn't put the work in, I wouldn't have put myself in that position. So that's the biggest thing I think everybody has to understand. And I'll talk to the kids about it this entire month of February. Black achievement is great. Black success is even better. But you got to work to get there.
Exactly what I tell my kids, because I tell my kids there's no such thing as luck, really. Because luck is really being prepared for that opportunity that comes. Right. And that's exactly what you did. You prepared yourself. And then when the opportunity arose, you were there.
Now, what you guys are talking about, it reminds me of, and Paul, you might remember from last year when Donovan Bennett, he came out with an article talking about like the lack of like diversity in sports, in the Canadian sports landscape. And he referenced an incident where he went up to Norman Powell and he dapped him to say hello, and they had a rapport. And one of his colleagues basically asked him, hey, like, do you know him? Like, did you grow up with him, sort of thing? And Donovan was kind of taken back. He was like, well, and I'm paraphrasing here. He was taken back. He was like, well, no, like I've covered this guy for years. Like even before he was like huge on the NBA, I formed a bond with him, and like it shouldn't, me going up to say hello doesn't have anything to do with some prior relationship or growing up together. And he even went as far as saying, situations like that with that colleague of his are they're symptoms of a larger problem in Canadian media and the lack of diversity and representation. So, I know we've talked about diversity, and it's kind of a long-winded way to get around to it, but you touched on hiring practices. Why is it taking so long for like these things to like happen? Like you've been on TV for so long, like you've been there, and you mentioned Jermaine Franklin and like Gurdeep. Like, what is the problem?
I just think it's and not necessarily purposeful, Jordan, but I just don't think some of the people doing the hiring think about it. Like they just, like I said, they're comfortable with people they know and people that are brought to them or people that are suggested to them, and it's in a limited, relatively speaking, it's in a limited circle, and it's not that it's not even sometimes purposeful. It's not even like, oh, we're not going to take any black people. They don't know that who's out there, and that's what I said. The hiring practices have to change at the top, and maybe the representation needs to change at the top too, to consider black males, black females, brown females, like people from the LGBTQ plus community. Like this, let's if we're opening it up, let's open it up. But the people at the top have to see that, and maybe it as everything else we talk about, maybe it needs to filter from the top down, and we need to look at who we are allowing to make decisions, or at least come to the table in management from that side of it. It might be very rudimentary, but that's my thinking.
Wow, Ruby.
So, as organizations look to diversify in media, but looking at a lot of the social media platforms out there, I feel like individuals are carving their own space. So whether it be via YouTube, whether it be podcasts, whether it be TikTok, whatever the means, do organizations like TSN or big media companies look at that going, hey, people are carving out their own niche. It's a risk to us now. Or looking at those individuals and bringing them on to their own large media companies.
I can't speak for them. I'm not in those board meetings. I'm not in those upper management senior team meetings, but I would hope that you would see it as a positive. These people they've opened up another forum. Maybe we can get some of them to help us. Maybe we can use this forum to expand our viewership, our listenership, all of those things. If you see it,
my question is in your conversations, do you guys like, hey, did you check out that kid? Did you check out that kid, what he's doing? The way he's, giving the play-by-play, or the things this individual is talking about. And I think from that perspective, I'm curious to know if people that have gone viral in that capacity, someone to look out for.
Yeah, I mean, and you hear of it, and that's the great thing about the digital age that we're in. That kind of thing never happened before. You'd have to kind of get a face-to-face meeting with somebody and bring your audition tape. And I think the world is, definitely changing now because of, the technology. Look at us. We're all of us here. We're, 4 or 5 people. We're all over we're in different parts of the GTA, but we're all together here for an hour. And technology's done that. So I would hope that there wouldn't be a a narrow-minded focus with that it would be broad-based, and you would at least consider. Now, you may get that person in who's carved something out and find out they might have done 2 great videos on NFL football, but they don't really know football. So now I'm still about hire me because I'm good. If I check a box for you in some other area, that's great. But don't give somebody an opportunity that they're going to fail at, and then you're going to turn around and you're going to take heat for it or use it to say, see, I told you so. And give that person time to grow. Give that person time to grow. Very few people are excellent at something the first time they do it. It takes time.
Except for Mike.
I was sitting with somebody the other day who listened to a 9-minute montage of Kobe Bryant's 81-point game that I called. And the comment to me was, boy, your voice sounds different. Well, yeah, that was 15, 16 years ago. And it was my first year as a play-by-play guy, right? I wasn't just a studio analyst or, a reporter. I was calling the game, and I was developing my style, and I sound different. I'd like to think that I sound better now than I did back then, but I had an idea of what I was doing. And every time I think of that montage, it takes me back to about a year ago when we lost Kobe. And, I tell the story all the time. I joke that the 81-point game, I'm not a big picture autograph kind of guy. It's kind of frowned upon in our business, your personal credibility, although there are times when I throw it out the window. People will take pictures that I'm not aware of, and I'll get a picture with me and Vince or Tracy and I or Allen Iverson and I. And like, when I see them, it's like, yo, Vince, sign this. Like, I need to put this up on my wall. Right. So I asked Kobe about signing the score sheet, and he said, yeah, man, I'll sign the score sheet. Mm-hmm. And for probably 3-4 years after I asked him and he said he would do it, every time he saw me, he's like, yo, bro, where's the score sheet? I'm like, sorry, I'm not carrying it with me on the road to LA. And I thought I missed my last opportunity with him when the Lakers played here in 2016. And I said, don't worry, you'll be back for I'll see you again. He goes, this is our last trip. I said, no, the All-Star game's here. Mm-hmm. He's like, oh. I said, don't worry, you'll be here. Mm-hmm. And I looked like crazy and I could not find it. And my broadcast partner, Eric Smith, found his, and we walked out to the loading dock after the game, and Kobe signed for Eric. And I'm like, I wish I knew where mine were. And let's put it this way. I found it too late. I still have it preserved because we were doing our basement. I was moving boxes, and I found the box with the game notes of Kobe's 81-point game, and the game notes, it said the Los Angeles Lakers tonight, welcome, Sunday, whatever, 2006, welcome, Chuck Swirsky and Leo Routens, Raptors TV, Paul Jones, Eric Smith, Raptors Radio, Paul Graham, Dan Gladman, John Russin, producer, blah, blah. Like, it's there. I have all the evidence there, and calling the game. But, unfortunately, I'm going to have to wait till I see Kobe again at some point to get that signature.
that one's always a bittersweet one, because as a Raptors fan, like, I try to block it out of my memory because it was extremely painful. I'll never forget. I was at work. I was working at McDonald's at the time, and I took the subway home. And I got home and I turned on TV, and when I saw that line at the bottom of the screen, my eyes popped out of my head. I could not believe it. I turned to my cousin and I started screaming at him. I'm like, 81 points. I'm like, what? 80? I cannot believe it. And even watching
Jordan, that was me. That was me in the game. 80, 72. And it's a good thing I was composed, or else I would have lost my job from cursing. Like I'll tell you, at a point, Jordan, in that game, knowing just being able to compartmentalize what I was watching, knowing that Wilt had 100, and I might be seeing the second greatest scoring performance ever in the history of NBA basketball. And I started cheering for history. People are like, Jonesy, you're getting pretty excited with Kobe scoring 74. So I'm like we're
never going to see this again.
Yeah, we're cheering for history here. Never mind the game, So, yeah, it is bittersweet for a lot of Raptor fans, though.
Yeah. Oh wow. Going back into your experience of coming up through being having two jobs.
Yeah,
You know, so
it's a Jamaican thing.
Yeah. Having that experience, getting into it. I know you got into it in the background and made yourself to the forefront. I've seen things with Hal Johnson and what he did with Body Break and making that difficult situation into something new. I don't know if you've worked with Hal or had that pleasure of doing anything like that, but I just like to hear a little bit of background on that if you can.
It's funny with all the events of the world recently, Mike, especially George Floyd and the timing of it with COVID shutting the world down, so everybody could watch that. I mean, there was no distractions when that happened. I've talked to Hal quite a bit since then, and everybody knows he was, for lack of a better term, a victim of a quota. And I congratulate him for not being stopped. He's a successful businessman. His entity with Joanne Body Break has done well. He's parlayed that into good business, and Hal and I we've been threatening to play golf with each other for the last summer or so. He's way better than I am. He's going to have to give me strokes, but he took something and kind of personified the perseverance we talk about. He wasn't stopped because he didn't get the opportunity he wanted. He made his own opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way it is. If there's an obstacle in the way, you have to figure out whether you're going to go over, under, around, or through it. But you're getting past it, and it's not going to stop you. And I look at Hal as a guy that, as I said, embodies that. Didn't get opportunities, but took Body Break and made it wildly successful, and went from there. And it's, Mike, I hope we're getting past those times. I really do. And what bothers me is something like, George Floyd or Ahmaud Arbery, these things happen and people see them. It's not like it's the first time for us. We go way back knowing the kinds of things that have been done that are unjust and unfair. And you just kind of bite your tongue and you understand that you're going to have to get past it. Dad used to say, I don't care how rough the water is, bring the ship in. I don't want to hear no excuses. I don't want to hear they would say in Jamaica, word is wind. Like, I don't want to hear no talk. Like, just find a way to get it done. And Hal did that. And I would hope that in these times we're doing that. The problem is there's a lot of talk and everybody's like, yeah, we're going to make change. And here we are like 6, 7, 8 months later, and we're still kind of talking.
What's happened?
Exactly, Jordan. Like what? And listen, I know it takes a long time. It's like turning the ocean liner like a boat. It takes a long sweeping turn. And I understand it, but where are we in the turn now? Where are we in the turn? And if we don't keep cranking the wheel and calling for change, it's not going to change. When I was teaching grade 8, we studied a book called Animal Farm about the Russian Revolution as part of the curriculum. I taught grade 8 with the kids, and it was a perfect book because it brought two words that are interlocked and tied together: conflict and change. Yeah. You don't get one without the other, and when you get one, you're going to get the other. And this is where we are. It's, as minorities, as Black people, there's been conflict and we've been begging for change. And every time there's a conflict and it looks like things are going to change, there's talk and things kind of go back to normal. And normal doesn't work for everybody all the time. And I think, like I said, where are we cranking that wheel? We still have to not necessarily seek conflict, but we definitely have to seek change. And if there's a few feathers ruffled out of that, so be it. Because we're talking about what's right and what's wrong now.
That's true. That's true. I do have one question, because I've seen this person rise. Okay, but you really don't hear much about her. And we talked about the lack of, let's say, lack of color in the job that you do. So a color analyst or even the play. Person that I'm thinking about is Megan Peak. And I don't see a lot of her, but I know when she was with the 905, I thought she did a great job. You know, people like her or her herself, are you able to help her rise or
Well, I'm going to tell you something, Mike. Megan and I had our first conversation when she was still a postgrad student. And she came to talk to me at NBA TV Canada, Raptors TV, and she wanted to get into it. And I tried to help her, and she took that help, and she's forged her own path now. She's doing play-by-play in Washington for the WNBA team, the Mystics, and you know, she's doing her thing. She's doing her thing, and
good too.
You know, she made the most of an opportunity. She came to people that looked like her for help, and I was able to, you know, do a little bit to help her, and then she took it and ran with it. You know, it's like, you know, you turn around, you're the quarterback, you turn around and you throw the ball to a guy 2 yards, and, you know, Patrick Mahomes throws it 2 yards and Tyreek Hill takes it 85 yards and it's an 87-yard touchdown. Passing touchdown. I didn't do that much. I threw the ball 2 yards. My man did the rest of the work. And with Megan, she wanted to get in. I wanted to help. You know, I'm still kind of working in it myself and navigating it myself, but yeah, I can help a little bit. And I'm proud of her because she's taken the opportunity and really run with it.
So guys, in that last segment, or the last topic, we kind of went a little too fast because there's some listeners that I just realized might not have been around in the 90s and they might not know what body break is. So can you,
okay,
Mike?
I feel like you're throwing some shade for me, Jordan.
No, I'm not, because you know we have some active listeners.
Paul in the chat, I told him that he needs to explain what body break is because
some people might not know. So
okay, let's that's a great point. I mean,
I personally I didn't know about Hal's struggle either until Mike kind of talked about it. Like I just thought he was this successful guy. I just remember the short shorts on TV, and I'm like, Hal, let's go work out.
No, it's funny because we forget, you know, like people looking at Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream" speech. I was alive when that speech was. The grainy black and white video. I was sitting on the living room floor watching it on TV. So I mean, that's a great point. Body Break turned into a series of short videos by Hal Johnson, Joanne McLeod, to help people live a more active, healthy, fit lifestyle with exercises. It later blossomed into exercises and food choices and dietary, guidelines.
That was the first time I saw the Canadian, like the health wheel that said, like, you have to eat like the categories with the green categories, the red, the blue. And it was like, the food guide. That's the first time I ever saw that.
It brought it to life, Jordan. And, you know, like some people learned that chips are not a food category. They're only a part of, of what's going on. So I go back to Hal and his short stints and segments on TV that became very popular, picked up by all these people. And it's, you know, it was as if he said, okay, you're not going to put me on TV. That's okay. I'll find my own way.
There you go. Yeah.
And it speaks to, you know, overcoming obstacles.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. That is absolutely perfect. Jonesy, we're almost running out of time here, so I think that we should play a little trivia. All right. Roz, you can queue up the first question because Jonesy, you're going to be going against Sako today. She's been ready to go. She's like, you know what? I'm super smart. I can take down Paul Jones.
Don't bet money on me.
No one wants to bet money on me.
She's our ringer. She went to Australia. She studied in Australia. She's been around the world. I told you she's a loss.
A man feels like he's 2 meters behind the starting blocks already.
You don't want to know how far away Sako is.
Yeah. We were talking about 3-on-3 the other day. She said 3-man basketball. So don't worry.
Mike, you're gonna out her like that already.
So first of all, it's really inspiring to hear how people have been resilient and forged their own path. So with my inability to probably succeed at this quiz, I will make my own way. I've got no.
There you go. There you go.
So Roz, let's start off with the first question.
I realize
here.
I'm going to be playing against the Michael Jordan of this
Oh,
quiz.
see,
So
see now man's feeling some pressure now.
Okay, let's go with the first question then. What year was the Raptors founded in?
95.
Whoa.
Oh,
she did the answer. Yes.
That's all I got.
Nice.
Yeah, she said that quick. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
So apparently the team was founded in 1995 as part of the NBA's expansion into Canada, along with the Vancouver Grizzlies.
Yeah.
Expansion
Like, you know,
cousins. Yeah.
Another team we need to bring back, but that's a story for another day.
And I'm a little pained by the reactions of my Quadcast crew right here.
Told you that 3-man basketball that kind of ruined it for you.
Don't let them give you a label, girl.
Okay, who scored the first point in Toronto Raptors history?
Oh, okay.
Okay, was it?
I'm gonna give her a chance because I know this one. I know.
I feel like you would. Okay, I'll give you the options, Ruby, so you can
Okay.
guess. Okay.
Okay.
Karen Wright, Ed Pinckney,
Pick me.
Damon Stoudemire, Alvin Robertson. I feel like I pronounced these all wrong, and I wanted to say Pinckney. I know that's not it. Go ahead, Ruby.
I don't know. I feel like I'm just gonna guess Robertson.
Yeah.
It was a 3-pointer. Alvin
Wow.
Robertson. The first basket in Raptors history was a 3-pointer
Yeah, I
by
remember.
Alvin Robertson. Yeah.
Wow.
I've shocked myself.
Ed Pinckney jumped center in that game.
Yeah.
And was later traded. I remember traveling one day to Utah because I was teaching school and I didn't travel with the team on the plane. I had to teach school and travel on my own that day. I took 3 flights. I went Toronto, Detroit, Atlanta, Salt Lake City. I got there like 2-3 hours before the game, just in time to like grab a quick shower and get to the arena to do the game. And I saw Ed Pinckney walking out the door. I said, "Where are you going, man? The game's not for like, you don't have to be." He goes, "I just got traded." It was trade deadline day and he just got traded. And he got traded back to Philly. And the irony of it, I think he jumped center in the first game and the last game for the other team in season 1.
Wow.
Yeah, he took the center jump opening night. And then I think he took the center jump on the last night of the season for Philadelphia against Toronto.
Wow.
In Toronto. That was the fan night.
Yes.
I was
Mike,
there.
yes.
I was there.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I remember.
Okay, next question. This is a really easy one. Okay, Ruby? But you're already crushing it, so it doesn't even matter if it's hard at this point. Who hit the game-winning shot in Game 7 of the 2019 Eastern Conference Finals against the Philadelphia 76ers?
You have to pronounce the name correctly, though, to get it right.
You need me to give you the I don't want to give you the options because then I'll be pronouncing it for you.
No, don't do that. Don't. She has to know. So probably one of the most,
I'm going to
memorable...
say the name, but I'm probably going to say it wrong because you guys laughed at me before.
Okay.
Is it Lowry?
Nope.
No?
Ruby,
No. You
Give
get
me the
one
options.
more.
Give me
Give her
options.
one more guess. Give her one more guess.
guess again. It wasn't any names you tried pronouncing before. Just FYI. You tried to pronounce Kyle Lowry and Serge Ibaka.
Why are we
Pascal Siakam, and it wasn't any of those names.
why are we stating the odds against our guests?
Okay,
Hey,
you have to guess.
she's got one
Nobody
more try.
told
She's got one
All
more
right.
try.
Hang on.
Oh, are you gonna play the video for it?
Oh my goodness! They get it to Leonard. Drives right. Down to the baseline. Fall away for the win. Got it!
The excitement came back.
That was amazing.
You can't get better than that.
Oh, man, yeah.
Win that one.
That's the best hit ever.
That was one of the most memorable calls. When the ball hit the rim, I was kind of like leaning and everybody was standing up. And my friend Carlos was driving back from London, Ontario. And he called me on the drive home. He goes, Jonesy, you were killing me. What took you so long? Like, you got it.
Yeah.
I said, Carlos, I had to wait to see if the ball was going in. It 4 bounces and it took forever. And like I said, I was losing it. I had it in perspective though, because I knew that only won the series and it was on to Milwaukee. I said that at the end, but that is, other than maybe Joe Carter's home run to win the World Series, or maybe Paul Henderson's goal in '72. I don't know how many more sports moments like that in Canada are going to go down in history the way that one will.
Yeah,
for real. Ruby, this is. I'm sharing my screen now. Ruby.
No, I remember now, so I do.
Okay.
And do you remember who hit the shot though?
No.
Kawhi Leonard.
Hey, we all got to start someplace.
There you go.
Okay, so point to Jonesy. Next question is, which Raptors head coach was fired the same year that he was named NBA Coach of the Year?
Boy.
Ooh.
That was also pretty recent. I remember this one. Okay, I'll give you the options. Lenny Wilkins, Dwayne Casey, Sam Mitchell, or Butch Carter.
I feel like I don't know at all. So I'm going to say, what was the first name?
I
feel like I want to say Butch Carter.
Was Vince. Wait, whoops.
No,
Here we are. It was Lenny
Wilkins.
Wilkins, Dwayne Casey, Sam Mitchell, or Butch Carter.
First one.
Lenny Wilkins. Okay, that's your guess. Do you want to go ahead, Jonesy?
It was Dwayne Casey, and I remember the Raptors winning. I believe it was 50 odd games. They were all running together for me because they've won 50 games for like 5-6 years in a row. But
that feels
it might have been
51 games. I think
it was over 50. Yeah, Mike, it was over 50, and they got swept by Cleveland. And the funny thing was, Game 3 when LeBron they lost Game 1, having never trailed in regulation. It was only the second time in NBA history that a team had lost a game where they were never behind for the entire game. Mm-hmm. Cleveland tied it with like a few seconds left, and Toronto had a shot to win, and they didn't win, and it went to overtime, and they lost. Mm-hmm. Then they lost Game 2. Game 3 in Cleveland, LeBron hit a shot like going the wrong way and off the right hand. And I remember calling it, and my brother Mark was doing the game for ESPN across the court. And the next night at the 6 o'clock Sports Center, they had, here's what LeBron's call sounded like. They had Cleveland radio, Toronto radio, ESPN TV. And it was funny because my brother and I were both on Sports Center opening at the same time because of that play. And I remember the Raptors getting swept and flying home on the Tuesday morning and thinking, I wonder what they're going to do with coach. He's probably going to be the coach of the year, but this is a bottom line results business.
Yeah.
And if you're, they always say in pro sports, it's absolute, because people say, oh, well, Boston got 3 games off them. The Raptors got swept. It doesn't matter. Boston still lost 2. It's an absolute business in my eyes. You're either winning or you're losing. And like they say, if you're on a dog team and if you're not the first dog, you see the same thing every day.
Yeah.
You're not the lead dog.
I've never heard that. That's amazing.
And here's Toronto again losing to LeBron. And so I was, it hurt to see Dwayne Casey fired, but you understand the business, and you can't argue. The next coach, and they changed the team, and they got a title a year later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can't argue with those results.
Yeah.
We've got our tiebreaker question.
Okay, this is every tiebreaker.
So Roz, all I'm going to say is have it be a good one, because the real winning in this is hearing Jonesy's stories after.
Yeah.
But Ruby,
Definitely.
this is high stakes too, because technically, if you do win this, you can say that you beat Paul Jones at Raptors trivia. I just put that out there.
No one would believe me, first of all.
Hey, we have it recorded.
Recording. You
'Cause
have
I'm sure
all right.
every one of these questions, Jonesy's has probably said something about it on air.
I'm ready
You're
for the
probably
game point.
there when they all happened.
Yeah.
She
I'm
wants the
I'm
ball.
ready.
It's game points, and
I'm
she
ready
has
for
the
the game
ball.
point. Let's go.
Yeah.
Okay. Who was the first Raptor to score 50 points in a playoff game? A. DeMar DeRozan. B. Kyle Lowry. C. Vince Carter. Or D. Kawhi Leonard.
Vince Carter.
Bingo. As a matter of fact, he's the only Raptor, I believe, to score 50 in a playoff game.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to look at that. Like Terrence Ross, 51 was against the
51.
Clippers on a Saturday night. DeMar's 52 was in the regular season against Milwaukee.
Yeah.
And we just saw Fred with 54, a little while ago.
Mhm.
So Vince did his in the playoffs. And everybody thought the series was over when he scored 50 and they went up 2-1 on Philly, and everybody thought it was
Man.
over. And
I sure did.
That was a beautiful series. I remember going to the games, and me and my brother were sitting beside each other, and it was so noisy.
oh,
You couldn't hear the person right beside you in there.
Mike, and that's when, to me,
Uh-huh.
Toronto got captured by playoff basketball. Like the noise, the energy in the building.
Yeah.
There's nothing like it. It's like a natural high when you've got a packed building and there's a playoff game and it's that intense. It's an unreal experience.
Yeah, it's great. It was great. I love those. I love those times. It's different than a regular season game.
Totally.
Yeah, that atmosphere.
Definitely.
Well, Jonesy, you are a gentleman and a scholar. I don't know what to say. I think we could keep this podcast going forever, but I know you've got to move to your next important afternoon here, your gig. So thank you so much for being on the pod.
Thank you very much.
We hope to see you again in the future. We wish you all the best. Stay safe, man. Mask up, and I can't wait to hear your voice again on the games. But
when this pod gets big and like it's killing it, just remember to just invite me back, okay? Just
Don't
forget me when you zoom ahead, all right? Like I said, reach back for some of us and bring us up, okay?
Jonesy, I'm Jamaican, so we're gonna
love
call.
But Roz, it's okay if I tell you to call. It's okay. It's not like I didn't tell you to call and you call me and I'm answering the phone saying, "Wait, I wish you had called me." Right? Like the other side of Jamaica is, what are you calling me for? What are you calling me for? Like, right? So we're good with it. I tell you to call, you're okay.
Great meeting you.
Awesome, gang.
Yeah, thank
Awesome,
you.
Gang.
That was
Great to
very
chat,
much.
folks. Have a great Sunday.
this has been the Technically Diverse podcast. Remember to hit subscribe on whichever app you prefer to get your podcasts. You can also connect with us on various social platforms. On Twitter, you can follow us at Technically D. On Instagram, you can follow us at Technically Diverse. Or if you prefer to watch, subscribe to our YouTube channel that shares the same name, Technically Diverse. We also love getting feedback and ideas, so if there's anything you'd like to see, you can send us an email to technicallydiverse@gmail.com.